Welcome. In this video I'm going to be replacing the shell on this Game Boy Advance SP, and I purchased a replacement shell on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description to that, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So they have a lot of different colors. I got the wine red color. It comes with the plastic for in front of the screen. We have the shell, and we have some screwdrivers. So we have a Phillips here and a tri-wing here. So in the little bag we have some rubber pieces here. There's a little logo, and we have a bunch of screws, some plastic, those are light pipes there I think, some caps. Here's the top part for the screen, and here's the bottom part. So to get started, I'm going to close this and I'll remove the battery. So this just uses a Phillips screwdriver. This is a captive screw, so you're not going to lose it. See, it has a little retaining clip. Now to remove the battery, if you look on this side, there's a little tab. You can just lift that right out. Next we want to remove the back, and for that we need the tri-wing. So there's 6 screws here, one on each corner, one here, and one here. So here are the screws. The 4 on the perimeter are a little bit longer, and the ones in the middle are shorter. So you have 4 long and 2 short, so it's pretty easy to keep track of. The kit came with new screws though, so I'll put those aside. So now we can take off the back cover. There we go. So now we need to remove 3 screws. This screw, and this screw. So when I'm removing screws like this, I like to press down pretty hard on the screw so it doesn't slip. So I put a fair amount of force down, I'm using my finger here, and then I'll turn it to break it loose. So now this will flip up, and we want to kind of hinge it on this side a little bit. I should open this if I can get it. It just broke. We want to make sure we don't damage that ribbon cable. So I want to disconnect this ribbon cable. So I'll take my screwdriver, and on this connector here there's a tab. There's a little brown tab. You press down on that on both sides, and this will come right out. There we go. So I can remove the speaker here. That just lifts right out. I'll just take these parts out of here so they're not flopping around. So on the top portion, I want to remove these parts here. I'm using like a little awl punch thing here. You could use an X-Acto knife or a screwdriver or something. I'm just going to stick these in here and pull these out. There we go. So there'll be one in this corner, but this is broken. So I'll just take the one off this side. I should probably be a little bit more careful about that ribbon there. So now we can use a Phillips screwdriver to remove the 5 screws. I only have 4 here. Again, I'm pushing down on this pretty hard to get these screws out. So now I can lift this frame off of here, like so. I can pull the screen out. So the top part of the shell is removed now. Now we need to remove this ribbon cable here. I'm going to try and fish it through this slot maybe. Actually, this cover looks like it comes off, so I'm going to take it off without damaging the ribbon cable. So I'm going to pry on this part, see if I can get this up. There we go. I guess this is why people watch videos like this, but there's a screw on the back side right here that I should have taken out. So when you do this, take that screw out and that will come right off. So we have 2 hinges here we need to remove. Holding it like this, on the left we have, this is black, and on the right it's white on mine. So I'll open this up, what's left of it. It kind of, stuck open right there, it clicked in place. So I'll finish taking this thing off I didn't take off earlier. So now I need to push these hinges out. So I'll take a screwdriver here and I'll press these tabs in and then get it pressed out. Okay, there, I got it. So this should pull out now. So I need to do the same with this one here. This is gonna be harder to see. I'm going to try and push them out while it's closed like this. I'm not sure it wouldn't be easier to take a Dremel and try and break this open. This thing's so brittle. There we go. Wow, this is in really bad shape. Having trouble getting this out of here. Okay, so I need to turn this to align the little parts so this will slip out. It's really hard to show here, so that's in alignment, I think. So let's see if it pushes out now. Okay, actually I just needed to rotate this around the correct orientation. Now it's slipping right out. Okay, so I have the new parts over here. This is the top case. Take that apart. Here's the bottom. Ah, shoot. Lost a shoulder button there. Okay, the way this fits in here is the spring is bent so it fits in the little recess on the switch. So I'll put that in there. I'll put the bar in. Like so. I'll hook it on this little hook and I'll put the pivot in, or not. Okay, I have that back in now. So this part of the case comes off and you have the buttons here. We have the little pad for the speaker goes there, and then the speaker goes in the recess like so. We have the little light pipe here. You want to have light pressure on your pliers if you're using them. Tweezers are probably better. I'll just stick that down in there. So that's going to press down and that way. Okay. I'm just going to set this in place for now. And I'll get to the screen. So my screen seems to be in pretty good condition, so I'm not going to put this on, but this will have adhesive around it, so you would take this off. You might need to clean the adhesive off with some alcohol, and then you can press that in place to fit. I'll set that in there, see what it looks like. Okay, I see these little plastic strands here. I don't want those to get stuck in there. So we have the little curly Q here on the connector. I'll tuck that in the area here. So I'm going to use the new screws, but I'll find the ones that match up with the ones I took out. So on the left is the screw that I took out, and then on the right is what it seems to be for the replacement. Let's look at them side by side. There we go. Interestingly, the newer one is a tri-wing. Okay, I have that screw in. So the way I like to get these started is I'll put the screw on the end of the screwdriver, like so, and I'll hold it on there with my finger like that. You could also magnetize these screwdrivers by rubbing them on a magnet. I just magnetized this. Okay, I'm not going to put the pads on here until I'm finished. So now I need to route this ribbon cable. Take the motherboard off here. I'll run that up through this slot. Like so. There we go. So I'm going to attempt to put these hinges in. So I want to open it to the position where these notches on the inside are lined up. They're right there. There's a notch on this. I'll stick that in there. It should slide in. I realized one of my little clips here was bent out, so I'll bend that in. Okay, we have that hinge in. Speaker just came out. I probably should have left it out. I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, all these little buttons came out of here. I'll put these back in place. Okay, I have those pieces in place. Okay, so we're almost ready to put the circuit board on, but before we do that, we need to take this piece here and place it on the hinge cover. I don't want to turn this over because everything will fall out. And there's a hole here we want to put a screw in. So I switched over to this bigger screwdriver. The one that came with the kit here is a little bent, you can see. It would work if it's all you have, but this came from my Apsung toolkit. I'll put a link below in the description to that kit. I don't know that I would buy it just for this job, but if you think you might do other jobs, it's handy having a toolkit. I'm going to put this in off camera because it's kind of hard for me to get leverage on this with the camera in front of me. Okay, that cover's in place. Now I need to put the circuit board on. So you want to make sure this is opened up. Oops, I had a pad on there from the old one. So I'll pull down on this on both sides. This needs to slide inside of there and then you close it on both sides. I'm going to tilt this up. I'll probably have all these pads fall out, but I'm going to use my pliers to close this over here. I'm being very careful. Light pressure. My fingers are just too big to get in there. So I'll tilt this up. I'll replace this button that fell out. The pad's back on top. Okay. So now I can put the circuit board in place. I'll make sure it goes over all these points here. And I'll put 3 screws in, here, here, and here. Those are these kind of brass looking ones. You need a fair amount of downward force to put these screws in without stripping the screw out. So that's why I did it off camera where I could get some leverage. So now I'm ready to put this on. You want to make sure that your switch is aligned. So this is off, and if I put this here, the switch is slid this way. So that will line up. Then the tricky part here is getting these 2 studs into the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang dental floss off of here on both sides. That way when I get the case together I can pull on these to help align the pins. Like so. I can put the case on. Okay, so I have it on this end. On this end here, I'm going to pull on the floss here to get those studs to go into place. Looks like I got both sides. I'll pull the floss out. Okay, looks like everything's fitting together now. So before I put the screws in, I'm going to remove the battery cover. I'll place the battery in there. And I'll carefully pry here to open up between the screen and the rest of the case. And I'll turn it on to make sure it turns on. Okay, there it works. I don't have a game in right now, so. Okay, I can take the battery out now. So I have 6 screws left to complete this. I have small, small, and then the larger ones go on the 4 corners. So I was using a Phillips screwdriver on the tri-wing. That was a bad idea. I actually think I have an extra one of these. Then the 4 corners are Phillips. Now I'll place the battery in. I'll put the battery door on. There we go. Make sure it still turns on. Good. Okay, so I have a game here we can try. Mario Kart. Okay, so I'm noticing one problem here is this shoulder button works and this one does not. So when I tested it earlier, I probably should have put a game in and tested everything. So I'll take this apart and I'll fix this. I'll do that off camera. I'm sure something's just not aligned quite right. Okay, I took this apart and I found out what was causing the problem. It might be hard to see here, but this switch is coming out, the middle part of that switch. So this one works. I'm going to see if I can push that back in with this tool, this pick. I need to do this off camera so I can get my eyes closer to this. Okay, I was able to push it back in there. I don't know if this was out before. I guess I could look at the video, or if I made that fall out on its own, but that's rubber and that did slide back in there. So now I can put everything back together and it should work again. Okay, I got it back together. I was testing it again and I see the A button is down here. So I'm going to take it apart again and figure this out. Okay, I pulled this apart. And if we look in here, this actually came out when I pulled it out, kind of like the B one just did here. But I suspect this thing was rotated just slightly to where it wasn't sitting properly, like this one here. You need to make sure those notches are lined up. And I thought I lined them up, but I apparently didn't, or they moved out of place. I don't know. So now I can put the circuit board back on, and I'll just pry this up and I'll peek in there to make sure that the buttons look correct before I put it back together. Okay, so all the buttons are working now. Shoulder buttons are working. I think everything's in good shape. So I could have just cut out all these problems I had, but I wanted to share them because other people might have similar problems, like with the button sticking and the shoulder buttons and things like that. So now that it's done, I can place the decals on. So this one will go right here. So they have these red caps, and I just realized those are supposed to go on the hinges. I'm going to put a note at the beginning of this video to tell people to watch all the way through so they can see all these mistakes that I made. So I have some bumpers here that go over these screw holes. So the bigger ones are going to go in the top right and left corners. There we go. The small ones are going to go on the smaller holes. There we go, and it's all complete. So this doesn't come with the decals that go on the back. I think some of the kits might come with those, like you have this decal, but this is playable again. That's the main thing with this. So overall, that was a doable repair, but it was kind of difficult at times. You know, hopefully sharing this video with people will make it easier for them so they can watch out for some of the things I ran into. I did minimal research into this before I actually tackled this job. It looked pretty easy with just removing the screws, but you know, obviously I missed that. So what I'm planning on doing is I'll take all these screws from the old one and I'll put these in a little Ziploc bag and mark them as Game Boy Advance SP screws. And I'll probably put in like these caps and other things that I have left over that are worth saving. I could even maybe put in some of these pads that are in good shape just as spare parts. And then if I ever have to rip it open again, I'll have them if it breaks. And if I ever tear it that far, I'll put these caps on too. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.